past, present, future. In this video you will learn all German tenses. In German there are 6 tenses, 1 for the present, 2 for the future and 3 for the past. So by the end of this video you will know when to use each tense and how to build it correctly. And to make these tenses really click, we will follow a short story about Allbert. Right now, after leaving Earth, he's in a spaceship heading to our planet Cleo. We will go through these tenses from lower to higher level, like we would teach them in our German courses. And we color code the levels. A1 is for green, starting with Präsens, following with Perfekt. A2 is blue, our third tense today is Futur I. In B1, yellow, we learn Präteritum. After that comes B2 in pink, Plusquamperfekt. And finally we finish with C1 in orange, Futur II. You can watch this video from start to finish or use the chapters to jump straight to the tense you need. If you like, grab a pen and paper, we will ask a few questions along the way. Alright, let's start with Präsens. Präsens is used when something is happening right now. For example, Allbert fliegt in einer Rakete. We also use Präsens for the near future, especially when a time word is present. For example, bald kommt das Abendessen. And we also use it for habits and general truth. For example, abends gibt es Abendessen. In these examples, the conjugated verb is always in position 2, meaning the second position in the sentence, not necessarily the second word. And that stays the same in most of this video, even when the tenses change. In German, the verb ending changes depending on the subject. While in English you just add s for he, she and it, in German there are specific endings for every subject. That's what we call conjugation. And first we will look at the conjugation in Präsens, then we will look at the verb position in different sentence types, and we will end with a small quiz. We will start with the conjugation of sein and haben, the 2 most important German verbs. Then we will look at weak, regular and strong, irregular verbs. These are the personal pronouns in nominative. And do you already know the conjugation of sein and haben? Take 10 seconds to make some notes or say it out loud. And if you need more time, just pause the video. Here are the forms. For sein, it's ich bin, du bist, sie es ist, wir sind, ihr seid, sie sind. For haben, ich habe, du hast, sie es hat, wir haben, ihr habt, sie haben. Sein, to be, is highly irregular, and haben, to have, also changes in an unusual way. So it's really worth learning these forms early. And now let's look at weak, regular verbs. We use the verb stem and add a specific ending for each subject. We usually get the verb stem by removing en at the end of the verb. Do you already know the conjugation of regular verbs? Take a few seconds again to write down the full forms. Now let's check. Ich ends in I, du ends in st, and if the verb stem ends in d or t, or in m or n after a consonant, we often add an extra e for easier pronunciation. Sie es ends in t, again sometimes with an extra e. Wir is like the infinitive, it adds en. Ihr ends in t, sometimes again with that extra e. And sie is again like the infinitive, adding en. So for regular verbs, sie es and ihr are the same form, and wir and sie are the same form as well, just like the infinitive. Now let's look at strong, irregular verbs. The good news is the endings are exactly the same as for regular verbs. The main difference is that in strong verbs the vowel can change in the second and third person. Often the vowel becomes an umlaut, or it changes into a different vowel entirely. For example, fahren, to drive, the vowel changes from a to ä in the second and third person. And lesen changes from e to ie, another common pattern. But there are more patterns than just these 2. Some strong verbs even change more than the vowel, and others might even conjugate like a regular verb. You will learn these exceptions over time. So for irregular verbs with a vowel change, only wir and sie have the same form. And before we move to the verb position, do you know why du and ses are the exact same form in lesen? If the verb stem ends in an S sound, especially with the letters S, SZ, X oder Z, the du ending, ST, drops the S. That's just another pronunciation twist like the extra E we had earlier. So that's the conjugation for regular and irregular verbs. But do you also know how modal verbs conjugate in the present tense? These 6 special verbs behave a little differently, especially in the singular. In the plural, the endings are basically the same as for regular verbs. But in the singular, 2 things often change. The vowel mostly changes, with the exception of sollen, and RCS drops the T ending. For example with können, ich kann, du kannst, RCS kann. Notice the vowel changes and the third person is kann, no T. Müssen becomes muss, mögen becomes mag, dürfen becomes darf, wollen becomes will, and sollen becomes soll. Now that we covered the conjugation, let's briefly look at the verb position. The classic verb position in German is position 2. So in main sentences, the conjugated verb goes in second position. Other parts in the sentence can move around, but not the verb. Second position, meaning the second slot, it doesn't have to be the second word. If we have a separable verb, one of those that split apart, we put the main verb in second position and the prefix goes to the very end of the sentence. In W questions, the verb is still second, right after the question word. And in yes or no questions, the verb is in first position. In subordinate clauses, often triggered by a connector, the verb moves to the end of the clause. And if we have one of the modal verbs we just conjugated, the conjugated modal verb is in second position, and the main verb goes to the very end of the sentence in the infinitive. As you can see, some sentences are present tense, and others are in the future. Now, before moving to the next tense, let's do a quick check. Fill in the verb in the right form. And here are the answers. Did you get them right? Wonderful. So now you know how to talk about the present and even about the near future. But what if we don't only want to talk about that? That's when the other tenses come in. So let's start with the past. We will begin with perfekt, our default past tense, especially in spoken German. You will usually also learn it in A1. For example, before his trip, Allbert booked his trip online. Allbert hat die Reise online gebucht. Oder gestern hat seinen Koffer gepackt. Oder ist früh ins Bett gegangen. All of these actions happened in the past, and as you can see, we need 2 parts to build perfekt. Sein or haben in second position, conjugated, plus a specific verb form at the sentence's end. We call that Partizip II. We will first look at the perfect formula, then at the verb position, and we will finish with a short quiz again. The basic formula is sein or haben, conjugated in Präsens, plus Partizip II at the end of the sentence. So when do we use sein and when do we use haben? And how to build Partizip II? That's exactly what makes or breaks a perfect sentence. First, let's look at sein versus haben. Do you already know when to use each one? We use sein if the main verb falls in one of these 3 categories. Movement from A to B, for example, fliegen, fahren, and so on. A change of state, for example, einschlafen, aufwachen, and so on. And for the 3 verbs of being, sein, bleiben, and werden. If the main verb belongs to one of these groups, we use sein. If not, we use haben. And keep in mind that some of the movement verbs might need haben when used transitively, like I drove the car, ich habe das Auto gefahren. And these helping verbs go in second position and are conjugated. And as a quick reminder, here's the conjugation again of sein and haben in Präsens. We have just learned those in the previous part. And it's really worth remembering the categories for sein and haben, as we need them not just for perfect, but also for Plusquamperfekt and Futur II, which you will learn later in this video. So once we know whether we need sein or haben, we can look at the main verb in Partizip II. And Partizip II also isn't just used for perfect, we also need it for other tenses as well as the passive voice. So how do we build Partizip II? The basic pattern is ge plus verb stem plus t or en. Ge typically goes to the beginning, the verb stem is usually the infinitive minus en, and the verb ending depends on whether the verb is regular or irregular. Regular verbs and a small number of mixed verbs end in t, and irregular verbs end in en. So reisen, a regular verb, becomes gereist, and fahren, an irregular verb, becomes gefahren. And similar to Präsens, if the verb stem ends in d or t, we add an extra e for easier pronunciation. For example, arbeiten becomes gearbeitet. So that's the basic idea for Partizip II, but there are a few common twists. If the verb is irregular, the stem may also change. And with separable verbs like ein, ab or auf, ge goes between prefix and verb stem. With non-separable prefixes like fair or be, we skip ge completely. And we also skip ge for all verbs ending in ieren. If you're wondering which prefixes are separable and which are not, here's a quick overview. And now we simply combine the two parts in a sentence, sein or haben in second position and Partizip II at the end. But depending on the sentence type, the position might change. So let's look at that more closely. For comparison, here's a basic main sentence, helper verb in position 2, Partizip II at the end. The same goes for W questions, the helper verb is in position 2 and Partizip II stays at the end. And as you can see, separable verbs take ge in between prefix and stem. In yes or no questions, the helper verb goes in first position and Partizip II is still at the end. For short answers, we often keep only what we need, the answer word first, then sein or haben, plus subject, and we drop the rest. In subordinate clauses, often triggered by a connector, the helping verb moves behind Partizip II, so it ends up at the very end of the clause. And with modal verbs, we normally get a double infinitive at the end of the sentence, with the modal verb in last position. Important, with the double infinitive, we always use haben, even if the main verb would normally take sein. For example, ich habe nicht fliegen können. And we only use a modal verb's Partizip II when the modal verb is the main verb of that sentence. For example, ich habe das nicht gewollt. And for completeness, here are the Partizip II forms of all modal verbs. Now let's finish this tense with a quick quiz. Use sein or haben in second position, conjugate it and build Partizip II at the end. You will have 10 seconds again, and if you need more time, just pause the video. And here are the answers. The first sentence needs haben and no ge because of the prefix be. The second sentence needs haben again with a regular form Partizip II. And sentence number 3 expresses a change of state, so we need sein, and ge goes between prefix and verb stem. So, bestellen and machen are regular, einschlafen is irregular. If you have questions or you got a different answer, just leave a comment. So now you already know how to talk about the present, near future and past. But do you also know how to talk about the future in general? For the future, we can use Präsens as we explained earlier, especially when there is a time word present. But if there's no time word or clear context that signals the future, our default tense is Futur I. We also use Futur I to express an assumption or probability about the present or the future. So from Albert's perspective, he's on the rocket right now, we will look ahead. For example, Allbert wird bald ankommen. Oder wird in ein Hotel fahren. Oder die Leute werden bestimmt nett sein. As you can see, sentence 1 and 2 describe the future, sentence 3 is an assumption. The basic formula is simple, werden conjugated plus infinitive. Let's quickly look at the conjugation of werden. and then we will look at the verb position in different sentence types and end with a little quiz. The conjugation of werden is ich werde, du wirst, sie es wird, wir werden, ihr werdet, sie werden. Now for the verb position, as you just saw, in the main sentence, werden is in position 2, conjugated, and the main verb goes to the end in the infinitive. With separable verbs, nothing separates in Futur I, we keep the normal infinitive at the end of the sentence. In W questions, werden is in second position, right after the question word, and the main verb stays at the end in the infinitive. In Ja-Nein Fragen, werden goes in first position, and the infinitive still stays at the end. In a subordinate clause, often triggered by a connector, the conjugated helping verb werden moves to the very end of the clause, right behind the infinitive. And in sentences with a modal verb, we add the modal verb in the infinitive at the very end. Nothing special happens here, just two infinitives at the end, with the modal verb last. So let's practice together. Here are a few words. Try to put them in the right order and conjugate werden accordingly. You get 10 seconds again, and if you need more time, just pause the video. And here are the sentences. Sentence 1 is a basic main clause. Werden sits in position 2, conjugated, and the main verb is at the end in the infinitive. Sentence 2 is a W question, so the verb is second again, and the infinitive stays at the end. And sentence number 3 is a subordinate clause, so conjugated werden moves behind the infinitive to the end. For these sentences, there's often more than one correct answer. You can switch parts around. The verb position is what matters most. If you have any questions, just leave a comment and we will get back to you. So now we already know how to talk about the past, present and future. This is all you need up to B1. From B1 onwards, you will learn how to be more specific about time. Now let's go back again to the past and look at Präteritum. It works a lot like English simple past, but the main difference is in usage. Präteritum is mostly used in writing and for a couple specific verbs, while perfekt is the default past tense in spoken German, no matter your level. So from Allbert's perspective, he's in the rocket now. We can refer to earlier today, for example, Allbert wachte heute schon früh auf. Oder stieg in das Auto ein. Oder seine Eltern brachten ihn zum Flughafen. As you can see, we change the verb depending on the subject. That's the same basic logic as in Präsens. First we will look at the conjugation in Präteritum. Then we will look at the verb position, and we will end with a short quiz. Here are the personal pronouns in nominative. We will start with the three most important verbs, sein, haben and werden. Then we will go through regular, irregular and mixed verbs before we finish with a whole overview of the modal verbs. Before we jump in, take a few seconds and see if you know the conjugation of sein, haben and werden already. For sein, the conjugation in Präteritum is ich war, du warst, sie es war, wir waren, ihr wart, sie waren. For haben, it's ich hatte, du hattest, sie es hatte, wir hatten, ihr hattet, sie hatten. And werden, in Präteritum either to become or used for the passive, the conjugation is ich wurde, du wurdest, sie es wurde, wir wurden, ihr wurdet, sie wurden. For standard verbs, we divide them in three categories: weak, regular verbs, schwache Verben, strong, irregular verbs, starke Verben, and a mix, called Mischverben. Most verbs are either weak or strong. There's only a very small number of mixed verbs. We will show them to you in a moment. Here's the conjugation of regular verbs. We use the verb stem and add the ending for each person. Take a moment to write down the conjugation if you already know it. Now let's check. It's te for ich, test for du, sie like first person, te, wir, ten, ihr, tet, sie, ten. This pattern is the same for all regular verbs. But how about strong, irregular verbs? This group typically needs two things: a stem change, often a vowel change, and a different set of endings. Let's take a look. Fahren, to drive, is a classic strong, irregular verb. It changes to fuhr in the ich form. Vowel change and no ending. Second person gets the vowel change again, also adding st. And we keep this vowel change for every person. And then we just add the endings. Third person is again like first person, vowel change, no ending. And in the plural, we keep that vowel change and add endings like in Präsens. So, wir fuhren, ihr fuhrt, and sie fuhren. And while there are patterns, unfortunately there's no single fixed rule of how the vowel changes. So regular verbs in Präteritum add a specific ending. Strong verbs change the stem vowel and use different endings. But what if a verb is mixed? Then we basically combine both systems. The endings are like regular verbs, but the verb stem changes like a strong verb. So wissen, for example, becomes ich wusste, du wusstest, sie es wusste, wir wussten, ihr wusstet, sie wussten. And as mentioned, there are only a very few mixed verbs in German. Here's a quick list. And here's a quick trick to tell regular and irregular verbs apart on B1. Since you already know Partizip II from Perfekt, put a verb into Partizip II and then check the ending. If it ends in T, it's almost certainly regular, or one of the very few mixed verbs. If it ends in en, it's irregular. Now before we look at the verb position, let's see how modal verbs change in Präteritum. Here they are. As you can see, the endings are just like regular verbs, but the verb stem can change. Können becomes konnte, müssen becomes musste, mögen becomes mochte, dürfen becomes durfte, and then no change for wollen and sollen. Wollen becomes wollte, sollen becomes sollte. And note that the modal verbs have no umlaut in Präteritum. In spoken German, we often use Präteritum with sein, haben, werden and the modal verbs instead of perfect. Otherwise, we usually default to perfect when speaking and use Präteritum mostly in writing, although that's not a fixed rule. So the key to Präteritum is choosing the right verb form. Now what about the verb position? It's very similar to Präsens. In a standard sentence, the verb is in second position. If we have a separable verb, we put the main verb in second position with the prefix going to the end. In W questions, the verb is still in second position. In Ja-Nein-Fragen, the verb comes first. In subordinate clauses, often triggered by a connector, the verb goes to the end. And in modal sentences, the modal verb goes in second position, conjugated, and the main verb goes to the end in the infinitive. And here's a little quiz for you. Simply change the verb in brackets to Präteritum and conjugate it depending on the subject. Now let's look at your answers. Sprechen is an irregular verb. Alle makes it plural, so the conjugation is sprachen. The second sentence is an irregular separable verb in a subordinate clause, so it changes to ankamen. And telefonieren is a regular verb, so it becomes telefonierte in third person. If you have any questions or a different answer, just leave a comment and we will clear things up. So now we also know how to write or read about the past using Präteritum. But what if we want to talk about something in the past that happened before something else happened in the past? This is where Plusquamperfekt comes in. We use Plusquamperfekt to express an action that had already happened before another past action happened. So if Allbert had checked in before he arrived at the airport earlier today, we would say, bei der Ankunft hatte schon eingecheckt. Oder als er angekommen war, gab er den Koffer ab. Oder auch, er war durch die Sicherheitskontrolle gegangen. If you already learned perfect, which is very likely, then Plusquamperfekt is quite easy to build. It's almost the same formula as perfect, with one key difference: the helping verb is in Präteritum, not Präsens. Let's look at the formula first, then check the verb position and end with a little quiz. The full Plusquamperfekt formula is sein or haben, conjugated in Präteritum, plus Partizip II at the end of the sentence. We just learned the Präteritum forms of sein and haben in the previous part. Here they are again. And do you remember when to use sein versus haben? Let's quickly recap. Use sein if the verb expresses movement from A to B, like fliegen, a change of state, like einschlafen, and also for the three verbs of being, sein, bleiben and werden. In those cases use sein, otherwise use haben. And keep in mind that some of the movement verbs might need haben when used transitively. And do you also remember how Partizip II works? We usually add ge in front of the verb stem, then we add t for regular verbs or en for irregular verbs. If the verb is irregular, the stem may change to, with separable prefixes, ge goes between the prefix and the stem. With inseparable prefixes, we skip ge. And we also skip ge for verbs ending in iren. Plusquamperfekt sentences rarely stand alone unless the context is clear. Most of the time they come with a connector like before, nachdem or als. And depending on the sentence type, we may need to adjust the verb position. For these examples, we assume the context so we can fully focus on the verb position. In a standard sentence, the helping verb goes second and Partizip II goes to the end. Same for W questions, helper second, Partizip II at the end. Ja-Nein Fragen need the helper first, Partizip II still at the end. For short answers, we often only keep what we need, the answer word, then the helping verb, then the subject. In subordinate clauses, which are very common for Plusquamperfekt, the helping verb goes to the end after Partizip II. And in model sentences, we usually use the double infinitive at the end with the model verb in last position, unless the model verb is used as a full verb like you saw earlier in Perfekt. Here are the Partizip II forms of model verbs again. Now let's practice. Here are some words, put them in the right order and change the verb forms accordingly. You have 10 seconds again, and if you need more time, just pause the video for a moment. Let's check if you got them right. Sentence 1 is a standard main clause, so the helping verb is second, conjugated in Präteritum, and Partizip II is at the end of the sentence. Sentence 2 has a connector, but the Plusquamperfekt is still in the main clause, and because the sentence starts with a subordinate clause, the main clause begins with the verb. So we need hatten right after the comma. And in the third sentence, the Plusquamperfekt is in the subordinate clause, so we need hatte after Partizip II at the end of that clause. And of course, there's more than just one correct solution. Here's an alternative version. If you have another answer or any questions, just write it in the comments. Okay, now we can talk about the present, the future, and all the different versions of the past. The only missing piece of our 6 tenses is Futur II. We use Futur II when we talk about something that will be finished in the future. Not finished yet, but finished by a certain point. So basically we are talking about something that will have been done by then. And we also use Futur II to express an assumption about the past. For example, Allbert is in the rocket right now, but soon he will have arrived at the hotel. Bald wird Allbert im Hotel angekommen sein. Oder wird ein tolles Zimmer bekommen haben. Oder seine Eltern werden ihn schon angerufen haben. So in example 102, the action is completed by a certain point, just not yet, and the third sentence is an assumption. Let's first look at a Futur II formula, then check the verb position, and end with a short quiz. The basic formula is werden plus Partizip II plus sein or haben. So it's like a mix of Futur I and Perfekt. As a quick recap, here's the conjugation of werden again. Ich werde, du wirst, sie es wird, wir werden, ihr werdet, sie werden. And Partizip II works the same as before, usually GE plus verb stem plus T or EN. Regular verbs end in T, irregular verbs end in EN. If the verb is irregular, the stem may also change. With separable prefixes, GE goes between prefix and stem. With non-separable prefixes, we skip GE, and we also skip GE for verbs ending in iren. And remember sein versus haben. Use sein for movement, change of state, and the three verbs of being. Sein, bleiben and werden. Otherwise, use haben. And keep in mind that some of the movement verbs might need haben when used transitively. Let's make it a bit colorful so it's easier to spot everything. Most of the time, werden is in second position, conjugated, and it pushes sein or haben all the way to the very end of the sentence, in the infinitive, right after Partizip II. Let's take a closer look. Here's a main clause again for comparison, but what changes in other sentence types? In W questions, the position stays the same. Werden in second position, sein or haben at the very end, after Partizip II. In Ja-Nein-Fragen, werden goes first, Partizip II and sein stay where they belong. In subordinate clauses, often triggered by a connector, werden moves to the very end, right after sein or haben. And if we add a modal verb, the modal verb goes to the very end, after everything else. Now, one more quick quiz for Futur II. Put these words in the right order. You may need to change their forms. You will have 10 seconds again. If you need more time, just pause the video. Let's see if you got them right. Sentence 1 is a W question, werden is in second position, and sein goes to the very end, right after Partizip II. Sentence 2 is a subordinate clause, triggered by a connector, so werden moves to the very end, after Partizip II and haben. And sentence 3 is a standard main clause, werden in position 2 and haben at the end, after Partizip II. Easy, right? So these are our 6 German tenses, and you will master them step by step along your German journey. Now, before we leave you with some exercises, let's compare these tenses one last time, side by side. We will start with Präsens. Allbert packt seinen Koffer. Allbert is packing his suitcase. Now we go down for the past, up for the future. In Perfekt it becomes Allbert hat seinen Koffer gepackt. For the future, Futur I, Allbert wird seinen Koffer packen. In Präteritum, it's Allbert packte seinen Koffer. Plusquamperfekt, Allbert hatte seinen Koffer gepackt. And finally, Futur II, Allbert wird seinen Koffer gepackt haben. And now it's your turn. We added one worksheet per tense in the video description. Just download the ones you need and start practicing right away. And if you would like some expert support on your German learning journey, Aluni also offers private courses with native German teachers. Just visit our website and get in touch. Danke fürs Schauen und bis bald bei Aluni.